is Jack Smith. On our next You Asked For It show, the return of one of the most spellbinding features we've ever presented. A young woman of Ceylon has volunteered for an ancient religious ritual which requires her to kiss the head of a deadly, poisonous, untamed King Cobra. She must kiss it not once, but 3 times. You'll live every breathless moment with it. Next on You Asked For It.
From Hollywood, the show that goes anywhere at your request. Jack Smith's You Asked For It. Starring Jack Smith. Also starring Janet Langhart and Dale Harimoto. And now, here's Jack Smith and Janet Langhart.
Well, hi, everyone. We're glad you could join us for another truly international show.
That's right, Jack, because our letter writers have sent us literally around the world for this show. Our camera crew journeyed to Carrara, Italy, to bring you the story of one of the most enduring and most beautiful substances on Earth, Carrara Marble. Now, from Japan come puppets with ingeniously hidden strings, the amazing and charming puppets of Karakuri.
Our classic feature is one of the most memorable and spellbinding that we've ever shown. It's about a young woman of Ceylon who volunteers for a religious rite in which she must kiss the head of a deadly King Cobra. But first, how would you like to meet this fellow on a dark night? He looks pretty horrible, doesn't he? But in Africa, masks like this serve a very good purpose. They're used in ancient rituals to scare away ghosts and evil spirits, and looking at this fella, I think it just might work. But thanks to a letter from Gus Agalikas of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you're going to see an ancient African ritual that isn't scary or frightening at all. In fact, it's a whole lot of fun. And what makes it fun? Well, for one thing, it's done on stilts over 8 feet tall. Now, it's one of the most unusual and fascinating dances in the world, and you're going to have a front seat because, Gus Agalikas, you asked for it. This is the village of Kibumi, and today is a festive occasion because the village's leading stilt dancer is going to perform. The stilt dance is part acrobatics, part ritual, part entertainment, and a whole lot of fun for dancers and spectators alike. This dancer, Gegbe, is the most skillful on the Ivory Coast of Africa. His stilts are over 8 feet tall, and he's been honored many times for his performances. Today's dance, like all the other rituals performed by the tribe, is for the purpose of scaring away evil spirits and bringing good luck. It's also very entertaining. Pregnant women cluster around the stilt dancer, so his good influence will help their unborn children. It's believed that if a woman wears a fiber from the dancer's skirt, her child will be graceful, and the birth will be an easy one. The musicians and the dancer all belong to the same family in the tribe. It's an honor to be part of the stilt dance ceremony. The village is made up of members of the Dan tribal group who live in Liberia and the Ivory Coast. They are a fiercely independent people and cling to the old customs and traditions with pride. Gegbe is the last of a kind. He passes on the tradition, but very few of the young men can match him when it comes to endurance and skill. Gegbe can perform 5 days in a row for hours at a stretch, and he never falls. The steps and traditions of the stilt dance are intricate and hard for outsiders to understand, but there's a universal constant. The purpose of the ritual is to bring good luck and peace to the village. Just as we turn to experts such as doctors and lawyers to solve our problems, this tribe turns to Ziggy, experts of his kind. Perhaps it works, who knows? But this one thing is true. We saw it because you asked for it. We'll return with Janet Langhart and the amazing Karakuri Puppets of Japan, whose strings are on the inside, just like the muscles and tendons of the human body, right after this.
Now, back to You Asked For It.
To earlier innocent eyes, this was magic, a puppet with a life of its own. You know, one of the great values of traveling to other parts of the world is that your eyes are open to new ways of doing things and solving problems, ways we might otherwise never think of. Well, this is a marionette, a puppet worked by strings. They have string puppets in Japan, too, but the strings are on the inside. Now, to us, this may seem backwards, inside out, or even impossible. But thanks to a letter we received from Dao Navangsa of Omaha, Nebraska, we're going now to Nagoya, Japan, to learn the innermost secrets of puppets that seem to have a life of their own. A dragon man god. No matter how closely you look, you won't see the strings working. He's a Karakuri puppet. Nagoya in central Japan is the original home of the Karakuri. Because the string work is on the inside, these puppets are capable of a really surprising versatility. Puppet acrobatics. Karakuri were born about 400 years ago, when Western visitors to Japan brought the first clocks people here had ever seen. Clocks and clockwork mechanisms became the rage. Karakuri come much closer to duplicating real human anatomy than most other kinds of puppets, with strings taking the place of muscle and tendons, and wood the place of bones. Nagoya is the only city where Karakuri are still made, and this is one of the few men left who knows how to make them. It takes months to create a Karakuri. There are no standard parts because each is a unique handcrafted work. Some Karakuri are operated by puppet masters, while others have a completely self-sufficient internal wind-up mechanism. Some Karakuri can be put to practice, early form of a very obliging robotics. At one time, puppet theater was a very serious art form in Japan. It still provides a lot of wonder and a lot of fun. Karakuri, the Japanese puppets with a life of their own, because you asked for it.
Potatoes, cheese, lettuce and tomato, onions, peppers. You know, it takes all the right ingredients to make a really terrific sandwich like this one. And it takes your ideas and your letters to keep making You Asked For It the show you'd like to see. So write to us. You Asked For It, P.O. Box 1980, Hollywood, California, 90028. Here goes.
Before I show you our classic feature, I want to take a moment to prepare you for an experience that I consider to be one of the most dramatic and breathtaking ever seen anywhere. You know, every time this has been shown by You Asked For It, we've been deluged by mail. A lot of it from people who heard about it from friends, but then missed it themselves. Now imagine, if you can, a young woman who volunteers to take part in an ancient ritual which requires her to kiss the head of a live King Cobra not once, but 3 times. The original film was shot back in Burma, but was brought to American audiences for the first time by You Asked For It in 1951, the very first year You Asked For It was on the air. Now, when you see it, I think you'll agree that this is a truly classic film of an unforgettable human experience.
While in the Burma jungles, the Dennis Roosevelt expedition got wind that something unusual was about to happen. They hurried to join native villagers on their way to the remote cave of their demon god Naga, the King Cobra. They believed that the snake's anger had prevented the birth of a male child during the past year. To appease him, this volunteer maiden must kiss his head not once, but 3 times. Grain scattered to the 4 winds, the ceremony of fertility. The King Cobra does not eat the fruit. It was only a token. She is the bait that lures the cobra from its cage. Now think of this. This volunteer girl had 2 sisters. At different times, each of her sisters volunteered to perform this ritual, and each was killed by the cobra. Now remember, the ritual demands that she kisses the cobra 3 times. That's once. Twice. Times. One of the most incredible sights ever witnessed, the ritual of kissing the cobra. You asked for it.
Jack will be back with a place where beauty is measured by the time, the violent birth of Carrara Marble, right after this. Now back to Jack Smith.
Almost since the beginning, it's been the favorite material of sculptors because it can be so perfectly shaped because of its richness and because it endures. It can be used for something as fine as this or as huge as this. Now, many believe the finest marble in the world comes from Carrara, Italy. It was used to build ancient Rome. It was used by Michelangelo. It's in the Leaning Tower of Pisa, St. Peter's, and the World Trade Center. But think of it. All this beauty and magnificence must begin with a violent wrenching from the earth of the basic material, the marble itself. Now, because of a letter from Bill Lilly of Plantation Acres, Florida, we sent our You Asked For It cameras to Carrara for this fascinating story of dynamite, sweat, and daring. The violent birth of Carrara Marble, because, Bill Lilly, you asked for it. The mountains behind the village of Carrara, Italy appear to be perpetually snow-capped. But it isn't snow that gives the area a white cast. It's marble dust, created by 2,000 years of quarrying in this picturesque region of the Italian Alps. The ancient Romans, Renaissance artists, and modern builders have all used Carrara marble to create enduring works of beauty. But the cost of wrenching the marble from the earth has been high in human lives. Even today, the quarry workers live with a constant threat of death or injury. The beauty that is Carrara marble is born in violence. The first step in quarrying marble is dynamite. Explosives are used to get to what is called the heart of the marble, the highest quality material, pure white perfection. The marble is then cut into huge blocks for easy hauling. The blocks are shaped with a special diamond-studded cable that cuts the hard stone almost like slicing cheese. A hole is drilled in the block, the cable put in place, and water pumped on the wire. It takes about 5 hours to cut an average-sized block. Now, this may not look dangerous, but looks can be deceiving. The cable is stretched tight. Snapping is common. Now, when that happens, a man can be decapitated or cut in half as easily as a cable cuts the marble. It's no wonder the foreman anxiously watches his crew during the process. But the unexpected can happen any time. Once the slab is cut, the next problem is moving it away from the rock face. For this procedure, a crane is hooked up to the slab. As with the cutting, danger can come from unexpected quarters. The cable on the crane can snap, the slab can suddenly fly apart, or a landslide can occur on the rock face above. While this segment was filmed, our camera crew was almost caught in a landslide and barely escaped in time. In fact, one of the crew was hit in the head with flying debris. Once the slab is separated, the next step is to lay it down. Debris and tires are used as cushions to prevent the marble from breaking. Then the rock is watered along the crack. After a while, everything falls into place. For larger sections of marble, or in areas where it's too awkward to get the crane in place, hydraulic jacks are used. In ancient times, water was poured into hand-chiseled cracks. Water froze at night and expanded, causing the marble to slowly separate from the mountain. The process could take days or even weeks. Today, it's much easier. But getting the marble slab cut is only part of the problem. It's still necessary to transport it from the quarry to the city, a journey of about 7 miles. Today, a huge uneven rock weighing about 8 tons must be loaded. A bulldozer pushes it into place and the skids are greased, but even that's not enough. 8-ton rocks sometimes seem to have minds of their own. But in quarry work, as in everything else, if at first you don't succeed, try again. After a few hours of getting everything back in position, the rock is finally loaded. And now, the final journey. At one time, the stones were hauled by hand. Now it's only a 30-minute truck ride. A boulder of this size is no unusual sight in Carrara. After all, this village has been doing this for over 2,000 years. Marble is everywhere. Even the water runs white thanks to marble dust. Most of the marble is sawed into thin sections that are used for everything from tombstones to buildings. The most expensive material sells for $3,000 a cubic meter. The cheapest is about $500. Tons of marble, both cut and uncut, are stored throughout Carrara. Architects and sculptors prefer to choose the pieces that they want, so the yards are open for inspection. For some chunks of marble, this is the end result, statues for the tourist trade. Other slabs have a nobler future. Carrara Marble can bring out the finer qualities of a beautiful woman or man's best friend. In the hands of an artist, the marble can become anything you ask for.
Stay tuned. In a moment, Jack clears the name of an accused murderer. Now, back to Jack and Janet.
Well, we have a moment's time for this letter from Miss Twilla Smith of Sutton, West Virginia. Mrs. Smith says that, is it fact or fiction that an elephant was tried for murder, found guilty, and condemned to life behind four walls? Well, Mrs. Smith, Ziggy was the elephant's name that you were talking about, and he did attack his trainer. Fortunately, no one was killed or seriously injured, but from then on, Ziggy was a marked pachyderm, chained to his stake in Chicago's Brookfield Zoo for 29 years, night and day. And then, thank goodness, a crusading reporter got him a parole.
And the public donated over $200,000 so that Ziggy could be unchained but kept behind a specially reinforced fence. He even got his own wading pool, and in his declining years, I guess he felt pretty happy, as well as anyone can tell.
Mrs. Smith, Ziggy was never tried for murder or found guilty, and in fact, never killed anyone. And we're glad that we could set the record straight because you asked for it.